Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, F8 Well Centers. Excited to talk today about your gut and your moods in your brain. These things are intimately connected, and I'm going to share with you exactly how that works and things that you can do to change it today. Because here we go. We know that moods are major issues nowadays, especially with everything that's been going on the last couple of years, and then you throw in wars and inflation and gas and all these different things. We've got so much that we could stress about, that we could have anxiety, depression, all types of things. But we're going to get into actually how your gut can be a huge factor in this. So thanks for jumping on. Welcome everybody. Pop down below where you're watching from. I'll give you a shout out. Give me a thumbs up if there's anything that you like, and share this with anybody that you know that is dealing with emotional issues and potentially even beat down by society and stress and all these different things. They need to look at their gut. That's what it comes down to. If you're having anxiety, if you're having depression, hey, Andrea in Michigan, good to see you. If you're having any of these issues, you've got to look at your gut. There's a new study that just came out, and this was out of Finland, where they looked at that connection between the brain and the gut, and we're going to go through that. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you in Washington as well. So here we go. Thanks for jumping on. If you haven't already, like or follow our page. Hit that little bell up in the corner, and that will alert you when we go live. Got lots of information. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel already, way easier looking at, hey, Lori in Tennessee, good to see you. Way easier to search and find topics. Over 550 different videos on our YouTube channel, all types of different topics like this one here, brain and gut. So jump on there. Brittany, you want to pop down a link to that one so people can get that, but then subscribe to that one as well. And we just so appreciate having all of you guys on here. So here's what the deal is. Our gut has literally trillions of organisms. I mean, it's just this mind-boggling number. You're like, oh, trillions, that's just the deficit and how much we spend every year, all these different things. But we literally have trillions of organisms in our digestive tract. And this is going to actually be more organisms that aren't us than we have cells in our bodies. It's crazy how many are in there. And if you think about it, you're like, well, is that really even possible? But think about that last time you took that little probiotic and what was in that. There's probably 10, 20, 30 billion organisms in this one tiny little capsule. But now think about 22 feet long. You lay out the surface area of the digestive tract, and you've got the surface area of a tennis court. So crazy, the amount of surface area, the amount of organisms in our digestive tract. So what we've known for years is that there is a connection between our gut and our brain. Autistic kids, the research shows that there's a significant decrease in certain strains of good bacteria in that gut, and is one of the major reasons why we will see people with autism. We know that leaky gut has a connection to depression and anxiety. We know that if somebody is dealing with some type of depression, there's more than likely a gut microbiome imbalance. So what can happen is the good stuff can actually get knocked down and the bad stuff gets built up. This happens when you go on an antibiotic of any kind. If you've been on more than 2 or 3 antibiotics in your life, your gut microbiome will never be the same. It will never work like it's supposed to, and you're going to need to support it with some of these things that we're going to be talking about, foods and supplements and things like that. So you've got to be looking at this day in and day out. How can you get your gut in as good a shape as possible? But this study out of Finland, they were looking specifically at depression. It was 6,000 people, and they looked at them for over 40 years. And what they found was there was a specific type of bacteria called Morganella. Hey, Carolyn, good to see you. Can I eat berries on a yeast cleanse? I don't eat sugar or processed. So you're going to have to play that by ear and see how the body feels with it. If you get any gas, bloating, anything like that, then you'll need to cut those out. So in this study, 6,000 people, and they found that there was one specific gut bacteria that was common in everybody that had the depression. 181 people reported depression in there, and the Morgandella bacteria was the big one that was related to that. And so what we know is that if we get out of balance, and so if good stuff goes down, bad stuff goes up, then in this case, it wasn't a low good bacteria that was the culprit. I mean, ultimately it was, but it was this higher bad bacteria. But it was the good bacteria being deficient starting out that allowed this bad stuff to get going in there. So if you've got questions at all, pop those down below, guys. Anything as far as your gut, as far as microbiome, what you're taking, anything like that, let me know. So what happens then is if you go on an antibiotic, if you are eating foods and grains and different things that have pesticides and herbicides in them, then that is absolutely going to start damaging that good bacteria. And so you need to ultimately build it back up and get it to a place where you're able to have optimal levels. And so I'm going to give you a few things right now. Hey, Stephanie, I heard the appendix has a stored bacteria that we were born with. One of the things with the appendix, that's a great question there. One of the things with the appendix that we look at is, like, let's say you get a bad infection, you get some type of gut infection, and the good bacteria can actually go hide in that appendix. There's definitely a storage part of it. There's definitely things with that appendix that we need it. It's there for a reason. So that's a great question as well. So here's some things that you can do to get started on your gut and your gut restoration at this point. So go ahead and jump on these today to start making a difference in your gut and ultimately your brain. Whether you have anxiety, depression, anything at all, you need to be as dialed in as possible with your gut. So one of the first things to do is to make sure that you're eating as much organic food as possible. And this isn't just because it's trendy, because it's good for the earth, any of those things, which it is good for the earth. It is going to be good for our health and for organisms in the soil and all those things. But here's what happens is when you're eating foods that have the pesticides and herbicides, you're going to be damaging this internal state, and it's going to be killing off your good stuff. So killing off your good bacteria, your microbiome. So you need to eat as much organic as you possibly can. Appreciate that. So the next step you need to do is these soil-based organisms. So not just any probiotics, but definitely soil-based organisms. If you do a quick Google search of that, you can find some of those out there. But the soil-based organisms are going to be the ones that are going to really drive and proliferate this good bacteria. It's also going to keep the bad stuff at bay. So not just any probiotics, but the soil-based organisms are going to be some of the best. If it's really bad, if you got a really bad case of depression and you know it's that microbiome is out of balance, a fecal transplant could be in your line of fire there. And so a fecal transplant is basically taking healthy good bacteria from a healthy person and putting it into you. You can do a YouTube video. I don't know, there's probably no YouTube videos out there of that, but you can do. So Carolyn, we'll put the link for that one in a second as well. Yes. So soil. So Joyce, yes, soil-based organisms. We'll put a link down below here in a second for that one. So the fecal transplant, if it's bad enough, somebody can take, and this is what they do for C. diff, they can take the the good bacteria, fecal matter from a healthy person and put it into the unhealthy gut, and that's going to make a huge difference. Hey, Chris, good to see you there. Thanks for the thumbs up on that one. So fecal transplant could be, if you have an extreme case, you need to do this. You need to look at fermented foods. This is going to be things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, some things like that. Hey, Lori, 3 months into your program and reversing my diabetes, hoping to help my battle with over 30 years of chronic depression. Lori, you got this. So glad to hear that you are reversing that diabetes. It is totally doable. You're amazing. So fermented foods, day in and day out, you've got to be doing these. And then you've got to look at killing off the bad stuff as well. So Brittany, if you want to pop down a link for the oil of oregano, that is one of our favorite things we do with patients all the time. Kill off the bad stuff, bring in the good stuff, and that can make a huge, huge difference. So here's the deal. If you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with anxiety, emotional issues, brain issues, autism with your children, anything like that, you've got to get into your gut. You've got to look at leaky gut, and you've got to look at the microbiome. So these are some things that you can do right now. If you've got questions at all, pop those down below. We'll get you a link for the oil of oregano and that soil-based organism. If this is more than you've got the ability to handle on your own and you need support, just like Lori is having there, we can work with you any place in the country. Our F8 doctors are here ready to get you your life back, get you your health back. No, Joyce, the soil-based probiotics do not have fecal matter in them. That is two totally separate things. So, but great question there. All right, guys, you've got this. Get that brain in line, and you're going to be a lot happier person when your gut is working like it should. Take